Beneath the deep blue waters of the ocean, there are mysteries that have quietly existed for centuries without anyone finding the answers. Forgotten ancient shipwrecks, sunken cities lost in silence, strange creatures hiding on the dark sea floor, and treasures that amaze the world every time they're discovered. Each of these is like a quiet piece that fits into the giant, mysterious puzzle that lies beyond the reach of modern humans. Maybe that's why the ocean always fascinates those who love to explore and long to solve unanswered questions. Today, let's dive in together and discover the unsolved mysteries of the ocean, so we can see that the world beneath the waves is much bigger than we ever imagined. So fasten your seatbelt as we dive into today's mystery. But first, you'll have incredible luck if you like, and subscribe before this video ends. The mysterious ice circles of Lake Baikal. Deep in the frozen heart of Siberia, Lake Baikal has long been a source of fascination for both scientists and those drawn to the supernatural. In April 2009, astronauts aboard the International Space Station made a remarkable discovery. A thin, perfectly round ice circle spanning up to 2.75 miles in diameter had appeared on the lake's surface. What made it even more mysterious was that this circle was invisible from the ground. Only those observing from above could truly appreciate its flawless shape. Following this initial discovery, scientists began a careful investigation and soon identified more of these unusual ice circles scattered across Lake Baikal. Each one shared the same pattern, a bright center, dark ringed edges, and most were found in remote, hard-to-reach corners of the lake. At first glance, many assumed these formations were simply natural phenomena. A popular theory suggested that methane gas rising from the lake bed was melting the ice in perfect circles. However, when researchers took ice samples from these sites, they found no trace of methane within the layers. Not stopping there, some scientists proposed that these circles could be caused by warm underwater currents, creating convective flows that melted the ice in distinct patterns. Yet even this explanation left major questions unanswered. The true source of these mysterious currents remained unknown, and there was no clear sign of unusual water movement beneath the thick ice that covers Baikal for most of the year. With natural explanations falling short, more speculative theories began to emerge. Some believe these circles could be linked to supernatural events, or perhaps even serve as landing marks for UFO that have visited or descended onto the lake. And in truth, what has happened at Baikal over the years gives these ideas an eerie plausibility. Lake Baikal's reputation for the unexplained goes far beyond its ice circles. Over the decades, the lake has been the setting for countless strange events. In 1977, a research submersible called Pisces lost all power while operating at a depth of nearly 4,000 feet. As the crew struggled in the darkness, a blinding beam of light suddenly shot down from above, illuminating their vessel. No one on board could explain the source of this mysterious light. Not long after, reports of unidentified flying objects began to increase, with witnesses describing cigar-shaped craft and glowing discs hovering over the lake at night, only to vanish into the Baikal mist as suddenly as they appeared. One of the most striking incidents occurred in April 1987, when as many as 13 witnesses reported seeing a massive flying saucer radiating a vivid purple light with yellow windows as large as those of a house. The object hovered over the lake for a long moment before slowly gliding away toward the distant mountains. Some local residents even claimed to have seen humanoid figures dressed in bright yellow suits. As soon as they were spotted, these beings hurried back to their craft and disappeared without a trace. All these bizarre occurrences have only strengthened the belief that Lake Baikal's ice circles are far more than just a natural curiosity. For many, they are a clear sign of forces at work beyond human understanding, or perhaps hints of mysteries even deeper still, waiting for someone to finally unlock their secrets. The alien base off the coast of Malibu. Beneath the deep waters off the coast of Malibu lies a strange structure that remains at the heart of debate and speculation. Not far from the shoreline, people have discovered a massive, flat rock formation that resembles a natural dome stretching across the ocean floor. What truly sets it apart are the large pillars supporting it, with a dark entrance at the center leading deep into the earth below. This unusual shape immediately drew the attention of UFO enthusiasts and those fascinated by unexplained mysteries. Many believe this could be an entrance to an underground alien base, something right out of the legendary tales of Area 51. Some have even dubbed it the new holy ground of unsolved mysteries. In 2014, researcher Jimmy Church used satellite images from Google Earth to analyze the area. What he found was that this offshore rock formation looked strikingly like the massive roof of a stadium, or perhaps a dome crafted by human hands. For Jimmy Church, this was not just an ordinary rock, but possibly a portal for spaceships, a place where mysterious lights had often been seen moving in and out over the open sea. The story doesn't end there. Robert Stanley, a journalist specializing in UFO phenomena, claimed that for over a decade, he had recorded numerous strange radio signals emanating from this location. Stanley even stated that he had personally witnessed unidentified flying objects diving into the ocean, only to vanish beneath the waves. Geologists, however, have offered a more conventional explanation. They argue that this structure is merely part of California's continental shelf, gradually eroded over time. Similar formations are common in deep-sea regions around the world, and there's nothing particularly unusual about it from a geological perspective. Still, even the experts admit that unexplored caves may exist beneath the rocky surface. To this day, no one has actually ventured inside to see for themselves what might be hidden in the cold, dark waters off Malibu. The mystery of the so-called alien base off Malibu remains unsolved. Whether it's simply a bizarre natural feature or evidence of something far beyond our current understanding, this place continues to spark curiosity among researchers and mystery seekers from all over the globe. The magnetic anomaly at Lake Vostok, Antarctica. Hidden deep beneath the eternal ice of Antarctica lies a mysterious world that humanity has only just begun to explore. Lake Vostok, the largest subglacial freshwater lake in Antarctica, is one of the continent's least known wonders, yet it holds countless surprises. As early as the 1960s, scientists had predicted the existence of this massive underground lake, but it wasn't until 1993, with the help of advanced satellite radar technology, that the presence of Lake Vostok was finally confirmed beyond any doubt. Lake Vostok is enormous, spanning some 5,600 square miles and buried beneath an ice sheet nearly 2.5 miles thick. Its location is near Russia's Vostok Research Station, about 800 miles from the South Pole. Completely cut off from the outside world for millions of years, Lake Vostok has long been a source of fascination for scientists and explorers alike. In 2001, a major breakthrough occurred when NASA researchers detected a massive magnetic anomaly at the eastern edge of the lake. The anomaly was so significant that it immediately prompted a wave of theories among scientists. Some believed it was caused by an unusually thin section of Earth's crust in the area, possibly stretched up to 3% thinner than average, creating a magnetic phenomenon that modern instruments could easily detect. Initially, the plan to drill deep into Lake Vostok and retrieve water samples faced heated debate due to concerns about contaminating the pristine environment. But curiosity about the hidden world beneath the ice ultimately prevailed. In 2013, after years of effort, Russian scientists succeeded in drilling more than 2 miles down and collecting the first samples of water from the lake. The results stunned the scientific community. Analysis revealed strands of bacterial DNA that did not match any known species in global databases. Professor Sergei Bulat of the St. Petersburg Nuclear Physics Institute confirmed that these DNA sequences were entirely new, never before seen in any ecosystem on Earth. Many scientists now believe that Lake Vostok contains an ecosystem completely isolated from the rest of the planet, with life forms that have evolved in total darkness, extreme cold, and higher than normal levels of oxygen. After millions of years of separation, the lake may be preserving secrets about the primitive origins of life on Earth, or perhaps even forms of life that have never been seen before. To this day, Lake Vostok remains one of Antarctica's greatest mysteries, a reminder that even in the age of advanced technology, our planet still harbors wonders and secrets yet to be discovered. The Yonaguni Monument, ruins beneath the Sea of Japan. Yonaguni is a remote island at the far southern tip of Japan, not far from Taiwan. The island is known for its deep blue waters, sheer cliffs, and a quiet way of life that feels completely separated from the modern world. But just beneath those calm waves lies a story that makes anyone who hears it pause and wonder. It all began in 1986, when a local diving guide named Kihachiro Aratake, while searching for a new dive site to attract tourists, stumbled upon a massive underwater rock formation. At first, Aratake only noticed a large shadow on the sandy seabed, but as he dove deeper, he realized he was looking at something extraordinary. Enormous stone blocks, arranged in an unnatural way, as if they were the ruins of an ancient city lost to the sea ages ago. The discovery quickly caught the attention of the scientific community. Professor Masaki Kimura of the University of the Ryukyus dedicated years to studying the site. What he and his team found left the world astonished. The structure features broad stone steps, elevated stone platforms like public squares, long corridors carved into the bedrock, and large holes resembling doors or windows. According to Kimura, this could not be the work of nature alone. He believes Yonaguni is the remnant of a prehistoric civilization, possibly dating back more than 10,000 years, making it older than the pyramids of Egypt or Stonehenge in England. He claims to have found strange symbols and patterns etched into the stone, possibly traces of a lost ancient script. Kimura also argues that the entire area is part of a vast architectural complex, with roads, temples, and religious structures. Not everyone agrees with Kimura's theory. Many geologists, such as Professor Robert Schach of Boston University, argue that the features seen at Yonaguni can be explained by natural geological processes. The local sandstone is highly susceptible to erosion from powerful ocean currents and the movement of tectonic plates, which can create steps, sharp angles, and corridors that seem man-made. They point out that without the discovery of clear cultural artifacts, pottery, metal tools, or remains of villages nearby, there's no solid evidence that this was ever a human settlement. Such artifacts are considered essential to proving any man-made origin. After all, similar formations have appeared naturally elsewhere in the world, such as the Giant's Causeway in Ireland or the Bimini Road in the Bahamas. This is why Yonaguni has become the center of a heated debate between two opposing camps. On one side are those who believe these are the remains of a forgotten civilization, perhaps even linked to legends of the lost continents of Mu or Lemuria. On the other side are those who see Yonaguni as a strange but natural marvel, the accidental result of geology and time. What do you think? Could Yonaguni really be an ancient man-made monument? And if so, would that mean human history needs to be rewritten? The Dragon Hole, Eye of the South China Sea. If the ocean is a treasure chest of mysteries, then the Dragon Hole in the South China Sea is surely one of the strangest treasures ever discovered by mankind. Hidden among the Paracel Islands off the coast of Vietnam, this place has long been the subject of both scientific inquiry and age-old folklore. The Dragon Hole is a massive underwater sinkhole, currently holding the record as the world's deepest blue hole. Scientists have measured its depth at nearly 987 feet, surpassing even the famous Dean's Blue Hole in the Bahamas. Its mouth is almost perfectly round, and the water within is pitch black, growing colder and more deprived of oxygen the deeper you descend. This has turned the Dragon Hole into a kind of natural forbidden zone for humans. While it stands as a geological marvel, the Dragon Hole is also woven into countless tales passed down through the centuries. In Chinese culture, the hole appears in the classic novel Journey to the West, where locals believe it was here that the Monkey King, Sunday Wukong, obtained his magical staff. That, they say, explains why the hole is so astonishingly deep. But other legends suggest it is home to a real dragon, and that deep within the chasm, a great dragon lies sleeping, whose awakening would spell disaster for the surrounding seas. Thanks to these stories, the Dragon Hole has become not only a scientific destination, but also a symbol of the supernatural. The beauty of the Dragon Hole is both mesmerizing and terrifying. Beneath the deep blue surface, sunlight only penetrates a short way before vanishing into the cold, impenetrable darkness. At these depths, the water pressure is enough to crush any ordinary diving equipment, not to mention the powerful currents that could sweep away anyone daring enough to explore further. Over the years, more than a few divers and explorers have lost their lives or barely escaped with their wits intact after venturing into the Dragon Hole. Today, the Dragon Hole remains a target for scientific research, but it is also a warning for anyone tempted to conquer its depths. Behind its dark and mysterious beauty, no one knows how many secrets are still hidden beneath the deep water, or whether humanity will ever truly unlock what lies within. Could a real dragon be sleeping inside, waiting to awaken? If you're still curious, perhaps you should try exploring it for yourself. The mystery of the ghost ship, MV Joyita. The MV Joyita was once a symbol of luxury and safety. Built in 1931 as a lavish yacht, the Joyita even served in the US Navy during World War II, before being converted into a transport vessel carrying cargo and passengers between islands in the South Pacific. On the 3rd of October, 1955, the Joyita left the port of Apia in Samoa, bound for the island of Tokelau, 270 miles away. Aboard were 25 people, including the seasoned Captain Thomas Dusty Miller and, notably, Dr. Alfred Dennis, who was on his way to Tokelau to perform a critical surgery. It was supposed to be a routine journey, but then things took a strange turn. 2 days passed, and there was still no sign of the Joyita at her destination. At first, people thought the delay might be due to bad weather or a technical problem, but as time went on with no word from the ship, worry set in. A massive search operation was launched and lasted 5 weeks, but no trace of the Joyita or her passengers was found. It was as if the ship had vanished into thin air. Then, on the 10th of November, 1955, a cargo vessel happened upon the Joyita adrift in the middle of the ocean, an astonishing 600 nautical miles off course. Strangely, not a single soul was found on board. The lifeboats, emergency equipment, and all personal belongings were missing without a trace. When investigators boarded the vessel, they found the Joyita listing heavily to one side, but still afloat. The interior was in complete disarray, with scattered belongings everywhere. Blood-stained bandages were found on deck, and the radio was tuned to the emergency frequency, but the antenna was broken. Inside the cabin, the ship's clock had stopped exactly at 10:25, as if marking a moment of fate. Most notably, the logbook and all important documents had vanished. No one has ever been able to explain what really happened on the Joyita. Countless theories have been put forward, but none have ever been completely convincing. Some believe that a leaking pipe flooded the engine room, and the crew, thinking the ship was about to sink, panicked and abandoned ship. Yet, the Joyita managed to stay afloat for days, drifting at sea. Others suspect an attack by pirates or criminals at sea, but there was no sign of a struggle or violence anywhere on the vessel. Another theory suggests a freak wave or sudden weather event swept the lifeboats and crew away, leaving them unable to return. And of course, there are supernatural explanations, that the Joyita encountered something beyond human comprehension that caused everyone to vanish without a trace. Whatever the cause, the story of the Joyita remains an unsolved mystery. The ship was eventually repaired and returned to service, but its reputation as a ghost ship lingered on, making many sailors think twice before ever stepping aboard. The mysterious object beneath the Baltic Sea. Deep beneath the Baltic Sea lies a mystery that, to this day, scientists still cannot explain. The story began in 2011, when the Swedish Ocean X diving team set out on an expedition to search for shipwrecks and ancient relics on the sea floor. During their survey, they stumbled upon a blurry sonar image of a strange object lying deep underwater. The object had an almost perfectly circular shape, measured roughly 200 feet across, stood about 10 feet thick, and, most intriguingly, rested atop a 26-foot-tall stone pillar. At its base were step-like formations, as if leading down into a dark, bottomless pit below. From the moment it was discovered, the object's bizarre shape sparked a wave of theories. Some speculated it might be the remains of an anti-submarine device from World War II, or the buried turret of a warship lost in a violent naval battle. But what caught the public's imagination most was its uncanny resemblance to the Millennium Falcon from the Star Wars films, fueling rapid speculation about a UFO crash landing on the seafloor. Naturally, many scientists remain skeptical of such theories, arguing that the object is merely a natural geological formation, shaped over thousands of years by the movement of glaciers and rock. Peter Lindbergh, leader of the Ocean X team, admits that the peculiar steps and the object's overall form have left him with lingering questions. If this is truly a man-made structure, it would have to date back to prehistory, perhaps even before the last ice age. The mystery only deepened in 2020, when scientists from Stockholm University collected direct samples from the site. Their analysis showed that the object was made up of common rocks, granite, gneiss, and sandstone, the very materials typically found in areas long scoured by glaciers, with no sign of extraterrestrial matter or any evidence of artificial construction. Still, the Ocean X team remains unconvinced. They insist that every time they approach the object, their electronic equipment, satellite phones, in particular, suffers from unexplained interference. Even compasses and sonar systems behave erratically, making it nearly impossible to collect high-quality images or samples. In smaller surveys conducted in 2019, they also discovered a monolithic stone standing upright nearby, surrounded by rectangular rocks arranged like a protective wall. Yet each time, mysterious technical failures have always kept them from getting closer to the truth. Today, the object beneath the Baltic Sea remains an unsolved enigma. Not only does it create powerful magnetic disturbances, but it continues to defy every attempt at human exploration. Whether it's a strange natural phenomenon, a remnant of an ancient civilization, or something even greater, this mystery still waits for a satisfying answer from those bold enough to seek out the truth. The sunken city of Heraklion. There was once an ancient city that stood proudly where the Nile River meets the Mediterranean Sea, a place whose existence, for centuries, was shrouded in legend and uncertainty. That city was Heraklion, known to the Egyptians as Thonis. In its day, Heraklion was one of the most important cities in ancient Egypt, the gateway through which merchants and trading ships from across the Mediterranean entered the land of the pharaohs. Yet for generations, these images survived only in ancient records, most notably in the writings of the Greek historian Herodotus. He described Heraklion as a thriving metropolis where every road led to the sea and every ritual and festival was dedicated to the gods and the waters. But beneath the city's surface, wealth and splendor, there was always an undercurrent of danger. The land at the river's mouth was soft and unstable, and Heraklion constantly faced the threats of floods and earthquakes. No one knows exactly what happened, only that Heraklion suddenly vanished from history. Folktales spoke of a great disaster that sent the city beneath the waves, leaving behind a veil of mystery that no one could pierce. Everything changed in the year 2000, when French archaeologist Franck Gaudiot and his team used modern survey technology to search the waters near Alexandria. At last, they found clues to the city's resting place. When the first divers reached the site, they were awestruck by what remained. They saw massive stone statues, more than 5 meters tall, their features still visible after more than 1,000 years beneath the sea. They saw toppled columns, broken temple walls, the network of canals that once linked small islands, and hundreds of relics, from pottery and coins to everyday household items. This discovery proved that Heraklion was no mere legend. Scientists now believe the city gradually sank over time as rising tides and encroaching seawater weakened its foundations. An earthquake or tsunami may have finished the job, swallowing a once bustling metropolis beneath the waters of the Mediterranean. All that remains is a silent world on the ocean floor. The story of Heraklion is a stark reminder of the fragility of human civilization in the face of nature's power. Even today, what Franck Gaudiot and his team have uncovered is only a small part of the city's greater story. Thousands of secrets still lie buried beneath the seabed, waiting to be discovered. Heraklion now stands as living proof of the great mysteries still hidden in the depths of the ocean, a place where time and tide can erase the achievements of mankind in the blink of an eye. The Death Lake, beneath the Red Sea. You may have heard about dangerous places on land, but beneath the ocean's surface exist natural traps far deadlier than most could ever imagine. One of these is the Death Lake, hidden deep beneath the Red Sea. This deadly pool lies more than 1 mile below the surface, spanning an area of over 10,000 square meters, concealed among the cold mud of the sea floor. At first glance, it looks like nothing more than an ordinary patch of water, but inside, there is no oxygen at all. Instead, the pool is filled with a thick, super salty solution known as brine. Any creature unfortunate enough to stray into this lake is instantly shocked and killed in a matter of seconds. Scientist Sam Purkis has described it as one of the harshest environments on the planet. Yet, strangely enough, the lake's rim is teeming with life. Schools of fish, clever eels, and predatory shrimp. They never risk entering the toxic pool. Instead, they lurk on the edges, waiting for some unlucky prey to drift into the deadly waters and lose consciousness. When that happens, the predators simply swoop in to claim the bodies of their doomed victims. This Death Lake is not unique. Scientists have discovered dozens of similar super salty pools in places like the Mediterranean and the Gulf of Mexico. But what makes this one so remarkable is its proximity to the Egyptian coast, just about 2 kilometers away, close enough that strong currents can sometimes sweep unsuspecting creatures right into its lethal grasp. The Death Lake beneath the Red Sea isn't just a new discovery in geology or marine biology. It's a stark reminder that even in places that seem harmless, deadly secrets still wait below the surface, mysteries that modern humans are only beginning to uncover. Would you ever dare to take a swim in that lake? The Pyrosome Sea Monster. If you think strange creatures exist only in science fiction, just take a look at this one. In 2015, scientists captured footage of a genuine sea monster, a creature as long as a snake and glowing in the depths of the Pacific Ocean. But the truth is even stranger. It wasn't a single animal, but a giant pyrosome, also known as a glowing sea cucumber. A pyrosome is a massive living colony made up of hundreds of thousands, or even millions, of tiny creatures called zooids. Each zooid is only about the size of a grain of rice, but when they band together, they form a long, tubular structure that can stretch over 60 feet, with some specimens growing even larger. From a distance, a pyrosome floats and drifts, waving gently like a luminous tube, sometimes even evoking images of legendary sea dragons. What makes the pyrosome so mysterious is its ability to emit a soft, bluish light through bioluminescence. At night or in the deep, dark water, these colonies become living lanterns in the ocean, casting a gentle glow that captivates anyone lucky enough to witness them. Despite their impressive size and bizarre appearance, pyrosomes are actually quite harmless. They draw seawater through their bodies to filter out tiny organic particles for food. Because their bodies are almost completely transparent, pyrosomes are hard to spot unless you're looking closely. For divers, touching a pyrosome might cause a mild tingling or a few small red marks on the skin, but they are in no way dangerous. Just one encounter with a giant pyrosome is enough to understand why the ocean is still called a treasure trove of the unexplained. It's a place where even the strangest of creatures can appear, leaving us awestruck by the wonders that lie beneath the waves. The sunken city off the coast of Cuba. In 2001, ocean engineer Pauline Zalitsky and her husband, Paul Weinsweig, conducted a survey off the western coast of Cuba using advanced sonar technology. While monitoring signals from the deep sea floor, they unexpectedly discovered images that left their entire team stunned. A series of stone structures with clear geometric shapes and sharp edges, lying more than 650 meters beneath the surface. These were not just random boulders. Many of the formations were lined up like roads or the foundations of massive buildings. News of the underwater city spread quickly across the media. Many couldn't help but think of Atlantis, the legendary city said to have vanished without a trace thousands of years ago. Could this really be evidence of a forgotten civilization? Or were these simply natural geological formations that we still don't fully understand? But what made the mystery even stranger was how everything seemed to fall silent after the initial reports. No major expeditions followed, no new images or official conclusions were released. All that remained were a few blurry photographs and a long list of unanswered questions. To this day, the sunken city off the coast of Cuba remains one of the ocean's biggest mysteries, a secret still waiting to be revealed beneath the waves. Modern-day pirates off the coast of Indonesia. When most people think of pirates, images of one-eyed outlaws waving black flags with skulls and crossbones and tales of buried treasure usually come to mind. But in reality, piracy is very much alive in the modern era, and the waters surrounding Indonesia have become the world's most dangerous hotspot for pirate activity today. According to the International Maritime Bureau's Piracy Reporting Center, the seas around Indonesia have turned into a paradise for pirate gangs. It's no coincidence that this region has become their main hideout. Indonesia is a nation of over 17,500 islands, forming a vast network of waterways and channels. Each island is an ideal refuge for pirates to hide, allowing them to easily ambush cargo ships and even luxury yachts passing through. On average, Indonesia reports as many as 43 pirate attacks per year, a number that far surpasses other notorious regions like Somalia, Nigeria, or India. These attacks take many forms, from petty theft and small-scale raids to full-blown hijackings of oil tankers, with crews held hostage for ransom. And with thousands of ships traveling between the islands each day, these gangs are never short of prey. For this reason, despite increased security measures and stricter patrols, the waters of Indonesia remain a place where every captain must stay on high alert. Just one moment of carelessness, and any ship can become the next target for these modern-day professional pirates. The monster whirlpool of Scotland. Amid the thick mists of Scotland's western seas lies a place so treacherous that even the most seasoned sailors approach it with caution, the Gulf of Corryvreckan. This spot is world famous for having one of the most powerful and fearsome whirlpools ever known to man. The maelstrom here is not only an oceanic challenge, but also the inspiration for countless mysterious legends spanning centuries. The Gulf of Corryvreckan sits between the islands of Jura and Skarba, where fierce tidal streams collide directly above a massive underwater rock. As the tide rises, millions of tons of seawater are forced through this narrow gap, creating a monstrous whirlpool that can rise several meters high and stretch nearly 100 meters across. The water's swirling force is so intense that its thunderous roar can be heard from more than 20 miles away. Corryvreckan's sheer power has made it one of the most dangerous waters in all of Europe. Many boats have been caught in its grip and dragged to the bottom in a matter of moments. Locals have long woven tales around this place. Stories of a Norwegian prince swallowed by the whirlpool in a test of courage to win a Scottish princess, or sea witches conjuring the vortex to ward off invading pirates. Each legend adds another layer of mystery and fear to Corryvreckan's reputation. Yet behind all the supernatural tales lies a remarkable geological phenomenon. It is the combination of that giant underwater rock and the immense tidal forces that produces one of the world's strongest and most dangerous whirlpools. Even with a clear scientific explanation, Corryvreckan still holds onto its aura of enchantment. And who knows, perhaps somewhere in the heart of that swirling water, there are secrets we've yet to imagine. The Yap and Palau Trenches. When people talk about the deepest places in the ocean, most immediately think of the legendary Mariana Trench. But beyond that, there are two other abysses quietly hidden beneath the Western Pacific, the Yap Trench and the Palau Trench. It wasn't until the summer of 2022 that the world truly began to pay attention, when two ocean explorers, Victor Vescovo and Cesario Sun Roller, made the very first dives to reach the bottom of both these deep trenches. The Yap Trench descends to 8,930 meters, while the Palau Trench is not far behind with a depth of 8,028 meters. For comparison, both belong to the list of the deepest places on Earth, just after the Mariana Trench. Yet what makes Yap and Palau truly remarkable is not only their breathtaking depth, but also the vastness and mystery they hold. Unlike the Mariana Trench, these two stretch even wider, forming valleys on the ocean floor, places where countless strange and unknown creatures may be hiding. During that historic expedition, scientists recorded the presence of many deep-sea creatures never seen anywhere else before, from glowing fish and invertebrates with bizarre shapes, to forms of life that science hasn't even named yet. Remarkably, life here seems to be even more diverse than what has been found at the bottom of the Mariana Trench. However, the Yap and Palau Trenches remain among the great mysteries of the ocean. Most of these areas have never been explored, and there are still no close-up images of much of these deep places. Beneath those cold waters lies a strange world that each new expedition has only begun to reveal. Somewhere in the depths of these trenches, the oldest living creatures, or even traces of Earth's ancient history, may still be silently surviving. The Samesen Hole, Thailand. Lying quietly off the coast of the Gulf of Thailand, the Samesen Hole is not a destination for the faint of heart. With a depth of just 85 meters, it may not be the deepest abyss in the world, but it is notorious as one of the most dangerous dive sites in Southeast Asia. For years, the Samesen Hole was used by the Thai military as a dumping ground for munitions. That means, beneath these calm waters, thousands of shells and unexploded bombs still rest on the seafloor. For divers, every descent into Samesen is a gamble with fate. Just a small accidental touch could lead to consequences beyond imagining. But the dangers don't end there. Samesen is also known for its powerful currents and the constant traffic of passing boats. The swirling water and shifting pressure can easily catch even the most experienced divers off guard, pulling them into sudden danger. On some days, the visibility below is nothing but an inky blackness, with not a single ray of light. Dive a little deeper, and you'll feel the harshness of the ocean's pressure, along with the strange sense that every sound and movement is distant, as if you've entered another world entirely. The Samesen Hole is a vivid reminder that even in the most familiar waters of the ocean, hidden dangers still lurk, threats that humanity has yet to fully control. Lion City beneath Qiandao Lake. Hidden beneath the deep blue waters of Qiandao Lake, in China's Zhejiang province, lies an ancient city that few could imagine still exists, almost perfectly preserved. This is Lion City, also known as Xicheng. Once a bustling center of life, the city was founded in the year 621 during the Tang Dynasty. over 1,400 years ago. Lion City was once home to nearly 300,000 people, with rows of stone houses, magnificent archways, and old stone-paved streets. But everything changed in 1959 when the Chinese government decided to build a massive hydroelectric dam. To create the reservoir, the entire city was submerged beneath the deep waters of Qiandao Lake. What's remarkable is that after so many years underwater, most of the city's architecture remains astonishingly well preserved. Stone walls, rooftops, and city gates still stand proudly beneath the lake's clear surface. Exquisite carvings can still be seen, carrying the marks of a once thriving era. Strangely, for decades, almost no one remembered that this city even existed. It wasn't until 2001 that explorers and divers accidentally rediscovered Xicheng deep below the surface. The very first photos and stories of this sunken city amazed the world, drawing thousands of adventure seekers from around the globe to Qiandao Lake. Today, Lion City has become a special destination for those passionate about diving and eager to uncover hidden history. Beneath the crystal clear waters, visitors feel as if they've entered another world, where every trace of time remains intact, telling the story of a once flourishing city now preserved as a distant memory beneath the silent waves. The oasis of ravenous sharks. At a depth of about 500 meters beneath the deep blue surface of the Indian Ocean, scientists have discovered one of the strangest and most dangerous ecosystems ever known. This is the so-called trap zone. It's not just an ordinary coral reef, but an underwater world where even seasoned divers have to be cautious. This area is famous for its sheer rock walls and ancient fossilized coral reefs, forming natural barriers that block the path of small fish. As these schools of fish move deeper, they become trapped between the stone walls, unable to find a way out. This entrapment turns the place into a lavish feast for predatory sharks. It isn't just sharks. Countless other carnivorous fish also frequent this region. They gather in packs, always ready to launch into an endless hunt. The smaller fish do everything they can to hide, while the sharks are always lurking, creating a harsh and unforgiving circle of survival. What makes this place truly unique is that both prey and predators are confined within its boundaries. Once inside, both must adapt in order to survive, giving rise to a special ecosystem found in few other places on Earth. The cycle of hunter and hunted continues without pause, creating a scene that is both fierce and awe-inspiring beneath the ocean's depths. Today, the oasis of ravenous sharks remains a captivating mystery for marine researchers and a testament to the diversity and complexity of life in the deep sea, where nature still guards its secrets, reserved only for those brave enough to seek them out. The 17th century warship, the Eplet warship, Sweden. Beneath the cold waters off the coast of Stockholm, archaeologists have discovered the wreck of the warship Eplet. This was the sister ship to the Vasa, one of the most famous and tragic warships in Swedish history. While the Vasa sank on her maiden voyage in 1628, the Eplet had a longer and more eventful journey at sea. The Eplet took part in the 30 Years' War, a brutal conflict that raged from 1618 to 1648. This war not only devastated countries across Europe, but also claimed the lives of more than 8 million people, many of whom died not from weapons, but from famine and disease that swept through the land. After years of service, the Eplet gradually fell into disrepair and could no longer withstand the harsh conditions of the sea. In the end, in 1659, it was decided that the ship would be deliberately sunk off the coast of Stockholm. This was a common way in those days to deal with warships that had finished their mission. Over time, the seabed here was repeatedly dredged, leading everyone to believe that all traces of the past had been swept away. That's why the discovery of the Eplet's wreck, still intact beneath the sea floor, stunned the archaeological community. No one expected that, buried beneath thick layers of mud and stone, such an important historical relic could be preserved. Today, the site where the wreck was found is in a military zone and is strictly protected. Only professional divers from the Swedish Navy are allowed to access and survey the ship directly. So, even though it cannot be raised or put on display, the Eplet remains there, silent witness to a bygone era. The existence of the Eplet at the bottom of the Baltic Sea is a reminder of the heroic and challenging chapters of 17th century European history. And at the same time, it leaves us wondering just how many more mysteries are still hidden by the ocean, waiting for us to discover in the future. Medieval shipwreck, England. Amidst the cold waters and crashing waves off the coast of England, researchers from Bournemouth University made an accidental discovery: the remains of an ancient ship, believed to be the oldest ever found in these waters. This vessel once sailed the seas in the 13th century, around the year 1242, and what makes it especially remarkable is that its hull was built entirely from Irish oak, a rare and valuable material at the time. Unlike the famous warships or legendary exploration vessels, this was simply a merchant ship, but it carried a precious cargo: slabs of Purbeck marble. This type of stone was highly prized in medieval construction, not just in England, but also exported to Ireland and across continental Europe. These stones once formed the foundations of churches, abbeys, and old castles, helping to shape the very face of medieval Europe. The wreck was uncovered after a violent storm swept through the area, an unexpected find that opened up a rare opportunity for archaeological research. The wooden planks of the ship remain intact, and the marble blocks still lie neatly on the deck, as if reenacting a journey cut short nearly 800 years ago. This discovery not only gives us greater insight into shipbuilding techniques and maritime trade during the Middle Ages, but also reminds us that globalization is not a modern concept. Hundreds of years ago, even the smallest ships were connecting distant lands, carrying goods, cultures, and stories across the open sea. Ancient Roman anchor off the coast of England. Amid the cold waves off the coast of England, marine archaeologists have made a remarkable discovery: an ancient Roman anchor. Weighing up to 100 kilograms and nearly 2 meters long, it may appear to be nothing more than a rough block of iron at first glance, but the historical significance it carries is immeasurable. What makes this find especially rare is that it's one of the very few pre-Viking anchors ever discovered anywhere in Europe. Most ancient anchors have vanished over time, either corroded away by the sea or simply never found. That's why the fact that this anchor remained intact after nearly 2,000 years on the ocean floor is something that continues to astonish archaeologists. According to experts, this anchor may have once belonged to a ship of the Classis Britannica fleet, the first navy established by the Romans in Britain during the 1st century AD. At that time, the mighty Roman Empire sent thousands of soldiers across the sea from continental Europe, determined to conquer and control this distant land. Large, sturdy ships and weather-hardened sailors helped the Romans leave a lasting mark on the history of this fog-shrouded island. The discovery of this anchor is like a small window opening into the past. It stands as vivid, tangible evidence of a glorious chapter in Roman history. The Delta P phenomenon, the invisible killer underwater. In just the past few years, a short video has gone viral online, capturing a scene that no one can easily forget. Beneath the deep water, a crab slowly crawls toward a small cut on a gas pipeline. Everything seems normal until, suddenly, the crab is pulled forcefully into the gap. In an instant, it's pinned down by an invisible force and quickly crushed in the dark water. This is the devastating power of Delta P. Delta P stands for differential pressure, a phenomenon considered the greatest nightmare for anyone working underwater, especially divers and construction workers on underwater projects. It's not sharks or strong currents that pose the greatest threat. Delta P is the cause behind 2/3 of all fatalities in commercial diving. Anyone who's heard of it knows that when Delta P appears, all safety measures can become meaningless in just a matter of seconds. The mechanism behind Delta P is simple but deadly. When there's a leak, water rushes violently from a high-pressure area to a low-pressure one, creating a powerful and dangerous suction. This force is strong enough to pull in anything nearby, heavy equipment, or even an adult, forcing it through tight spaces that nothing should be able to pass through. In the underwater world, just a single mistake can mean getting sucked into an opening and never coming back. This isn't just a theoretical danger. In 2015, a horrific accident occurred at the Nova Scotia Power Dam in Canada. Luke Seabrook, a 39-year-old professional diver, was inspecting a valve gate when he tragically entered a zone of differential pressure. The suction was so strong, he was pinned to the mouth of the valve and could not escape. But the tragedy didn't stop there. In 2022, a group of 5 divers was performing maintenance in the Bay of Baku when a safety valve suddenly malfunctioned. In a split second, the entire team was pulled into the pipeline, and 4 of them never returned. Accidents like these have made Delta P a constant fear among divers. Today, in training courses, people often show vivid warning videos that realistically depict how someone can be swept away. When facing Delta P, Sometimes all preparations are useless, and just a single moment of carelessness can lead to consequences beyond imagination. The dump, the chemical graveyard beneath the Pacific Ocean, not far from the southern coast of California, beneath the calm waves of the Pacific Ocean, lies a secret that went unmentioned for decades. This seemingly peaceful stretch of sea hides a massive chemical graveyard, a toxic legacy left by humans over nearly half a century. From the 1930s all the way through the 1970s, industrial companies around Los Angeles routinely dumped hazardous waste onto the ocean floor at no fewer than 14 different sites. Metal barrels were loaded onto ships and quietly released into the sea. The waste included everything from military explosives and industrial chemicals to radioactive substances. Among the chemicals dumped, one stands out: DDT, a pesticide once hailed as a miracle for American agriculture. But after just a few decades of use, scientists uncovered its terrifying downside. DDT not only killed insects, but poisoned entire ecosystems. It accumulates in the bodies of animals and humans, leading to cancer and a host of genetic diseases. That's why DDT was banned in the United States in the early 1970s. Yet, hundreds of tons of it still rest on the ocean floor to this day. It wasn't until 2021 that the truth began to surface. Thanks to modern underwater survey equipment, scientists discovered more than 25,000 barrels containing DDT scattered across an area as large as 36,000 acres on the seafloor, just 12 miles from Los Angeles. The amount of DDT is estimated at 350 to 700 tons, a staggering quantity with consequences no one can fully predict. Even worse, DDT hasn't broken down after all these years. It seeps into the seabed sediment, moves through the food chain, and accumulates in the bodies of marine animals. Researchers have found extremely high concentrations of DDT in the blubber of bottlenose dolphins living in the area. It's estimated that 1 in 4 adult or juvenile dolphins here develops cancer. What makes matters even more difficult is that the barrels themselves have badly deteriorated over time. The metal has corroded, and many barrels are rusted through, allowing chemicals to continue leaking into the environment. Collecting and disposing of this enormous number of barrels is almost impossible, as any attempt to disturb them could cause the toxins to spread even further. Blue Hole, the diver's graveyard in Egypt. The Blue Hole is one of the most famous dive sites in the world, but it's also a place that strikes fear into even the most experienced divers. Hidden beneath the deep blue surface is a giant natural sinkhole with a landscape as challenging as it is mysterious. Just a 20-foot descent brings you to the Saddle, a narrow entrance leading to the famous tunnel known as the Arch. This tunnel stretches 85 feet, with its lowest ceiling reaching a depth of 180 feet. But what truly makes the Blue Hole legendary lies even deeper. Descend further and you'll find a massive natural sinkhole, far beyond the safe limits of any standard diving equipment. It's this combination of mesmerizing beauty and deadly danger that has earned the Blue Hole its reputation as the world's most infamous diver's graveyard. According to many sources, at least 200 people have lost their lives here over the years. Along the shoreline, small memorial stones line the rocky beach, quietly listing the names of those who now rest forever in the depths below. The causes behind these tragic deaths go beyond just the complex terrain. They also test the very limits of human survival under immense water pressure. Just one small mistake in managing air supply or a miscalculation of the remaining gas in a tank can leave a diver desperately short of oxygen. But the most terrifying threat remains nitrogen narcosis, also known as the rapture of the deep. At great depths, nitrogen affects the brain, causing confusion, disorientation, or even hallucinations that rob divers of control and make self-rescue impossible. After many heartbreaking accidents, Egyptian authorities have tightened safety regulations at the Blue Hole. Before every dive, local police are present to check licenses, diving skills, and equipment in an effort to prevent further needless loss. Yet, the Blue Hole continues to attract thousands of thrill seekers each year, a challenge that lures people to test their strength and confront the hidden dangers of the deep. Bermuda Triangle, the Bermuda Triangle, and the methane bubble hypothesis. For many years, the Bermuda Triangle has been the subject of hundreds of legends and mysterious theories. Some believe it is a gateway to the lost city of Atlantis. Others suspect strange magnetic anomalies are at work, disrupting compasses and electronic devices. There are those who blame disappearances on supernatural phenomena, or even the intervention of extraterrestrials. Yet, among all these explanations, one natural scientific hypothesis has drawn the attention of modern researchers: the phenomenon of giant methane bubbles beneath the sea. According to this theory, deep beneath the ocean floor, hundreds of meters under layers of sediment, organic matter gradually decays, forming enormous pockets of methane gas. When the pressure becomes great enough, these pockets rupture, releasing vast amounts of methane bubbles that rise rapidly to the surface. These bubbles drastically reduce the density of the water, causing ships floating above to suddenly lose buoyancy and sink to the bottom in an instant. Giant methane craters have indeed been discovered by scientists off the coast of Norway, some measuring hundreds of meters wide and tens of meters deep. However, so far, there is still no direct evidence of large-scale methane bubble eruptions occurring specifically in the Bermuda Triangle. Moreover, this theory cannot explain why so many airplanes disappear or why people on ships vanish without a trace. For these reasons, even though the methane bubble hypothesis sounds scientifically plausible, it is still not enough to completely unravel the mysteries surrounding the Bermuda Triangle. This stretch of ocean continues to be a place full of unanswered questions, and with every new disappearance, the legends around it only become more chilling and captivating. K-278, Komsomolets, the Soviet nuclear submarine tragedy. In the history of modern seafaring, K-278 Komsomolets is a name forever linked to one of the greatest maritime disasters of the Soviet era, deep beneath the icy sea. Commissioned in 1986, the Komsomolets was the most advanced nuclear attack submarine of its time, famous for its ability to dive deeper than any other vessel of its era. It was built to operate in the harshest ocean conditions, carrying out top-secret missions off the coast of Norway. But all technical achievements became meaningless in a single, fateful moment. On the 7th of April, 1989, while diving at a depth of 1,100 feet off the Norwegian coast, the K-278 suddenly suffered an electrical short circuit. Flames erupted quickly in the engine room and spread throughout the compartments, even though the watertight doors had been sealed. Thanks to quick thinking, the crew activated the emergency surfacing system, and the submarine reached the surface in just 11 minutes. However, with rough seas, spreading toxic smoke, and intense heat, abandoning ship became a deadly challenge. Just over an hour after surfacing, the Komsomolets gradually sank to the bottom of the Barents Sea, settling at a depth of 5,500 feet. Many sailors were trapped on board, waiting for rescue in brutal conditions. In the end, only 27 survived, while 42 perished, most due to hypothermia as they waited to be saved. What makes the sinking of the K-278 even more frightening is the lasting environmental threat it left behind. The submarine still contains torpedoes armed with nuclear warheads. For decades afterward, scientists have monitored this area, detecting radiation levels on the sea floor up to 100,000 times higher than normal. Experts estimate that the radioactive impact from this wreck could last as long as 700 years, threatening both the ecosystem and the fishing industry in the Barents Sea. To this day, K-278 Komsomolets remains on the ocean floor, shrouded in radioactive algae. Salvaging or dealing with the vessel is far too dangerous and complicated a task. It stands not only as a dark chapter in the history of nuclear submarines, but also as a sobering warning about the long-term consequences of modern weapon technology for the ocean and for human life. Challenger Deep, the deepest place on Earth. If there's any place on this planet worthy of being called the final frontier, it is Challenger Deep, the deepest point ever measured beneath the ocean. The very name evokes a sense of awe, mystery, and distance beyond human imagination. Challenger Deep lies at the southern end of the Mariana Trench in the western Pacific Ocean. It's a remote area in the open sea, known to most of us only through stories or on a map. What makes Challenger Deep stand out is not just its location, but its astonishing depth. According to scientific measurements, the deepest spot here reaches nearly 11,000 meters, deeper than the height of Mount Everest if you were to flip the mountain upside down into the ocean. If you imagine standing on the peak of Everest and descending straight down to the bottom of Challenger Deep, your journey would be even farther than the distance from the ground up to the world's tallest mountain. But it's not just deep. Challenger Deep is an incredibly harsh environment. Temperatures at the bottom are near freezing, and no sunlight penetrates those depths. The water pressure here far exceeds what most creatures or machines can endure. To put it into perspective, the pressure at the bottom of Challenger Deep is strong enough to crush anything not specially reinforced. With such extreme conditions, Challenger Deep is like outer space on our own planet. While we have sent people to the moon, the bottom of the Mariana Trench remains an alien world, where every expedition is an exceptionally dangerous journey. History records that the Mariana Trench was first explored in 1875 during the voyage of HMS Challenger. When scientists on board used weighted rope to measure the depth, they were stunned to discover a seafloor deeper than anywhere humanity had ever known. That finding gave rise to the name Challenger Deep and paved the way for generations of ocean exploration. For millions of years, the bottom of the Mariana Trench remained a place only humans could imagine. But then, in 1960, two courageous men decided to confront humanity's greatest fear. They were Jacques Piccard, a Swiss explorer, and Don Walsh, an American naval officer. Together, they boarded a special submersible called the Trieste, a technological marvel of its era. The Trieste was unlike any other vessel. Its entire hull was reinforced to withstand the crushing pressure at the ocean's bottom, with a small compartment just big enough for the two men to sit side by side. Outside was a thick steel shell. Inside, only darkness and absolute silence. The journey began on a calm morning. As the Trieste started its descent, sunlight faded, replaced by an endless blackness stretching for miles below. At over 9,000 meters, the hull began to creak and groan, signs that the outside pressure was trying to crush the tiny craft and the fragile humans inside. But Piccard and Walsh pressed on, going deeper than anyone had ever dared. After nearly 5 hours, the Trieste finally reached the bottom of Challenger Deep. They stayed there for only 20 minutes, but that moment changed human understanding forever. Outside the small window, they were astonished to see a fish-like creature swimming across the muddy floor, clear proof that even in the harshest environment, life could still exist. It was a historic moment, opening a new era for ocean science. Nearly half a century later, in 2012, another historic dive shocked the world. This time, the pioneer was James Cameron, the director known for blockbusters like Avatar and Titanic. He piloted the deep-sea Challenger submersible solo on a descent to Challenger Deep. After hours in the depths, Cameron touched the bottom and spent time filming, capturing the first ever images of this alien world. He also collected many samples, including strange creatures never before known to science. Looking back at these expeditions, it's hard not to marvel at the endurance of human will and at the mysteries still waiting to be discovered in the deepest places on Earth. In recent years, thanks to modern technology, researchers have placed special microphones on the Mariana Trench's bottom to listen for sounds from this extreme world. The results surprised many. Instead of the utter silence we expected, the deep ocean is filled with a symphony of unexpected sounds. The most famous sound ever recorded here is what scientists call the Western Pacific biodwang. The first time anyone hears it, it sends chills down the spine. It begins as a deep rumble from within the earth, suddenly turns into a piercing screech like metal, and finally fades into deep vibrations, almost like the Earth's own heartbeat. Strangely, this sound repeats in a distinct cycle, unlike anything in nature ever documented before. But the Western Pacific biodwang isn't the only thing puzzling scientists. When hydrophones were placed in the Mariana Trench, they picked up a whole range of strange noises. There are rhythmic pulses like submarine sonar. Though no submarines were present, there are distant rumblings, as if some giant engine were working in the heart of the ocean, and there are long whistles, sounding like the calls of some unknown sea creature. What makes these sounds so remarkable is that none of them match any known source. These nameless, originless noises have sparked the imaginations of scientists and ocean mystery lovers alike. The most plausible theory is that these sounds could come from deep-sea creatures, perhaps whales, giant squid, or even life forms unknown to science. The deep ocean is home to millions of strange species we have yet to discover. Some scientists note that the frequency and repetition of sounds like the Western Pacific biotwang are similar to how whales and large marine animals communicate. Yet, there's something unusual. These sounds sometimes have a metallic tone and extremely high frequencies, nothing like any known creature. For now, the biological theory remains just that, a theory. Alongside the biological explanations, some researchers look to geology. They suggest the mysterious sounds could come from the shifting of Earth's crust at the trench's bottom. The Mariana Trench is where two of the planet's giant tectonic plates collide and slide beneath one another. creating cracks or even underwater volcanoes. Such movements could generate acoustic pulses. And, of course, when science has no full answer, imagination takes over. Some speculate these noises are signals from unidentified objects, so-called USOs, like UFOs, but underwater. Perhaps it's advanced technology no one knows about, or a new kind of physical phenomenon that only happens in places like the Mariana Trench. Still, others believe there might be underwater cities, built by extraterrestrials who travel in submarines and observe humanity from below. As fanciful as these theories sound, they can't be ruled out, especially in a place humanity has barely begun to explore. Thank you for joining me in exploring the mysteries hidden beneath the deep waters. If you enjoyed these strange and fascinating stories, feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss out on our next adventures together.